I'm here with Staff Sergeant Steve Perret, Operations NCO at the Fort St. John RCMP. Steve, thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome.
So on Monday, you gave a presentation to City Council about the crime stats for the first 6 months of the year. Can you tell us a little bit about what the statistics show?
Well, for the first half of 2016 compared to last year, overall we're down almost 700 calls for service to police. That can be attributed to a number of things, but it's, we feel that we're moving in the right direction with our crime reduction strategy and actively targeting the individuals that are responsible for the vast majority of crime in our community. And by actively targeting those individuals and getting them off the street, we feel that's playing a role in reducing our overall calls for service. Of course, there's other factors that come into play. I mean, obviously, with the downturn in the economy, there's less people residing in Fort St. John at the present time, so that does play a role. And but between our crime reduction strategy and trying to really show a proactive presence in the community, we feel that's plays a significant role in deterring crime from occurring.
I see. So when we're talking about violent crime, what kinds of crimes are we talking about here?
Well, when we speak about persons offenses, it's anything from a common assault, what we refer to as a common assault, or it could be anything with assault with a weapon, or sexual assaults, or even all the way up to murder. We're also including that uttering threats to cause somebody harm. It's lumped into the person's offense category.
I see. So can you? I know you gave more number stats to City Council, but can you give us an idea of how big the drop was in crime this year?
Okay. Well, if we're talking specifically about persons offenses, we're down approximately 11% from last year. That's a difference of about 80 files, 80 reports to police. And again, that's taking consideration all the different offenses, assault all the way up to sexual assault, etc. Overall, we're down 11%.
I see. And so, you were saying off camera that you've been here 8 years. Is this kind of would you say that this is one of the better years since you've been here?
Well, in the 8 years I've been here, I mean, I've seen, an increase in population. We've seen spikes in industry work. So with that, there's been obviously it's cyclic. It goes in peaks and valleys. But there's been times when we've seen, an influx of people come to the community for work, and so it goes in ebbs and flows. But definitely, we're considerably less calls for service this year than last year. Really the amount of files and amount of calls for service we're getting in the first half of 2016, we haven't seen those numbers since about 2012. So definitely it's on a downward trend, and we'd like to see that continue for the betterment of the community.
I see. Okay. And so I understand it wasn't all good news that you gave to council. There were some. There was a rise in sexual assaults. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. For sexual offenses, like in 2015, we had 13 reported incidents to the police, the Fort St. John detachment, and the first half of 2016, we've had 21. So that's a significant increase, and obviously that's a concern. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we've had more sexual offenses occur in the first half of 2016 compared to last year. It means more have been reported. So often a lot of these are historical in nature, and the victims, it's really they'll come forward and report to the police when they feel comfortable doing so. So it necessarily doesn't happen when or shortly after the offense occurred. It could be months or sometimes years after the fact. So, it's concerning that we've had more of these incidents reported to us, but it doesn't necessarily indicate that there's a trend of more sexual offenses and more sex offenders out on the street. It just means that at this particular time there's more reported to us, and there's, it's multifaceted, the different parts of the equation that come into play, and but we're hoping that the second half of 2016 that those numbers will stabilize and won't continue to increase.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have. Steve, thanks again for joining us.
You're welcome. Pleasure.